Okay, besties, have you seen that Tana and Brooke podcast cancelled is officially ending? During one of their final episodes, Tana casually mentioned potentially deleting all the podcast episodes and rebranding the channel back to her personal content, which left Brooke completely shook. The internet is now divided between Team Tana and Team Brooke, and honestly, it's bringing up some really messy questions about who actually owns content when influencers collaborate. Let's break down exactly what happened and why everyone's freaking out about it. So during one of their final podcast episodes, Tana started thinking out loud about what to do with the YouTube channel now that Cancelled is ending. For context, the channel they used for the podcast was actually Tana's original vlog channel that already had 2 million subscribers before Cancelled even started. Tana basically said she was considering deleting all the podcast episodes and possibly rebranding the channel back to her personal content. Brooke looked completely blindsided by this idea and was like, why would you delete all of the cancelled podcast episodes? Do you hate me that much? Tana then awkwardly tried to explain she was just thinking about erasing her digital footprints because she said a lot of wild things on the podcast. Then it got even more uncomfortable when they started talking about how AdSense revenue would be split going forward.
Oh, why would you delete all of Cancelled?
I don't know.
I'm counting on at least like $1,000 here or there from AdSense.
So every month I have to see what amount of AdSense from my channel comes. Well, this is like an off-camera conversation.
Oh, so now you're using this channel as your vlogs again?
Well, like, what if I wanted to?
Tana joked about them having to divide assets like they were getting a divorce, and Brooke seemed genuinely concerned about losing her income source. Tana made some joke comparing them to the McBrooms and their messy breakup, which honestly didn't help the vibe. The exchange was super awkward to watch because it felt like a conversation that should have happened privately, not in front of the entire audience. It was giving major business disputes that's about to get messy energy. If you've been following this drama unfold like I have, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates on how this situation plays out. And your likes really do help more people find these breakdowns. Now let's get into how fans are reacting to this whole situation. As soon as this clip started circulating, fans immediately took sides. And from what I can see, most people were actually defending Brooke in this situation. Comments were flooding in saying things like, I love Tana, but this gave me such weird energy, and the fact that Tana wanted to delete all the episodes is so messed up. A lot of people pointed out, even though it was originally Tana's channel, Brooke helped build the podcast into what it became, so she deserves to keep making money from these episodes. One comment that got hundreds of likes said casually telling Brooke that she wants to delete the episodes and use the channel for something else was so mean and inconsiderate. Like, damn, Tana is cold AF. People were even telling Brooke to get the lawyer ready because the whole situation seemed shady. But there's definitely another side to this argument. Some fans were pointing out that this is technically Tana's channel that she built to 2 million subscribers before Brooke was ever involved. One commentator wrote, she can do what she wants with the channel. Everything always needs to be written in life. Others were more critical of Brooke, saying things like Brooke is a grown woman who should have signed a contract, and she was a co-host, not the owner. Two very different things. So there's definitely a divide on how people were viewing the whole situation. I have to say, watching this exchange in the full episode gives a whole different perspective than just seeing the clips. The entire conversation had this underlying tension that was impossible to miss. When Tana first brought up the idea of deleting episodes, you could literally see Brooke's expression change in real time. Her body language shifted completely. She went from relaxed to sitting up straight, and her tone changed from casual to concerned almost instantly. What stood out to me was how neither of them seemed prepared to have this conversation on camera. There were these long pauses where they'd look at each other and you could almost see them trying to figure out what to say next without making things worse. The dynamic was particularly interesting when they started joking about going to court and dividing assets. On the surface they were laughing, but there was this undercurrent of seriousness business that kept breaking through. Brooke would make it a joke, but then immediately follow up with a comment that showed she was genuinely worried about her financial implications. Perhaps the most telling part was how they kept trying to move on from the topic, but then circling back to it throughout the episode. It seemed like neither of them could let it go completely, suggesting this was something that had been on their minds but hadn't been fully addressed before. It does raise questions about how much of their business relationship had been formally established versus how much was based on friendship and verbal agreements. Many viewers commented that this felt like a conversation that was happening for the first time, despite the podcast having been successful for quite a while. Whether this was just an awkward moment between friends or a glimpse into the deeper business tensions remains to be seen, but it certainly gave listeners an unfiltered look at the complexities of creator partnerships. Okay, so after seeing all the backlash, TANA went online to clarify what she meant. She basically said she was just thinking out loud and didn't really mean she was going to delete everything. She explained that sometimes when she's podcasting with someone she's comfortable with, she just says things without thinking them through. She also addressed why she wanted to delete some of the episodes, saying there are moments she regrets, like the double-ended situation in Paris and other TMI moments that haunt her digital footprint. To be honest, I really do understand that completely, but she acknowledged that those wild stories are what made cancelled what it is today. TANA was pretty adamant that she would never try to prevent Brooke from getting her fair share of future revenue from the podcast episodes. She said, "One thing I'm not going to do is shy Brooke on a single dollar." She went on to talk about how important Brooke was to the success of Cancelled and how ridiculous it would be to fight over what she called like $4,000 in the end. She also clarified that it's technically her channel and she has the right to rebrand it if she wants, saying it's my channel and I own it and I can do what I want with it. And Brooke's well aware of that. According to TANA, they've had these conversations before with their teams and managers, so this shouldn't be shocking to Brooke. What's really interesting about this drama is how it highlights a bigger issue in the creator economy: the lack of clear business agreements between collaborators. So many influencers start projects together based on friendship and vibes without thinking about the legal aspects until things get messy. This isn't the first time we've seen this kind of situation play out publicly. Remember when Ethan and Trisha had that massive fallout over frenemies? That was another situation where they had different understandings of who owned that percentage of the show. In traditional media, these things would be handled with contracts from day one. But in the influencer world, business relationships often start super casually, which can lead to these awkward situations when the collaboration ends. Some fans pointed out that if Brooke and TANA had formed an actual company for their podcast with clear ownership stakes, this wouldn't be an issue. One person wrote, they should have started a separate channel instead of using TANA's existing one, which would have made ownership clearer. Others are questioning why there wasn't a formal exit strategy in place for when the podcast ended. Like, did they never talk about what would happen to the channel and the revenue when they eventually stopped making episodes together? This is honestly like a really tricky situation because I understand from TANA's side, the channel is already established. Like, she's put in so much work into the channel, she can just hop onto the fan base that's already there. It's interesting to see how divided people are on this. Some viewers are looking at it purely from a business perspective. TANA owned the channel before, so she has this right to do whatever she wants to do. One commentator also said this was TANA's baby first. It's like asking if the step parent is going to take the child after a breakup. Others are looking at it from a contribution perspective. Brooke helped grow the podcast and became an essential part of the success. She deserves ongoing recognition and compensation. As one person put, Cancelled would never have been what it is today without Brooke. There's also the friendship angle. Some fans think that this kind of conversation should have happened privately instead of on air. One comment that got a lot of traction said that she should definitely have been behind the scenes conversation. And then there's a cynical take, or some people suggesting this entire drama might just be for views as the podcast ends. As one person wrote, how dramatic is everyone? TANA is thinking out loud, deal with it. At the end of the day, the situation between TANA and Brooke really demonstrates how the lines between friendship and business get super blurry in the creator economy. When you're building something with someone you're friends with, it's easy to skip the awkward conversations about who owns what and what happens if things end. The reality is that TANA does technically own the channel, but Brooke has contributed significantly to its success. Without a formal agreement in place, they're left to navigate the messy situation publicly, which is uncomfortable for everyone involved. If there's a lesson here for the creators, it's probably to have these most difficult conversations early and get everything in writing, even when you're working with friends, because no matter how close you are, business is still business, and clarity is important when money is involved. Little claps there. I totally agree with this. What do you think about the whole situation? Does Brooke deserve a permanent stake in the channel they built together, or is Tana completely within her rights to rebrand her own channel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.